Okay, we're going to walk through a quick project setup and importing the ink plugin into Unity and running that and bringing in our own custom ink stories that we made last week. So we're going to start out. We've got the Unity Hub installed and up and running. Um, you can see I've got a couple installs here, but right now I'm using the Unity 2022.3.46F1 build and Silicon for my MacBook Pro. Whatever version you guys have that's up to date for you should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit New Project. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the core 3D built-in render pipeline. My project name, I'm going to call this my ink project. And you can go ahead and select a location. I've got a folder already on my desktop called Inklewriter where I'll make that. Actually, I'm going to call this my ink Unity project just for clarification. And I'm going to go ahead and create that project. This will just take a moment to actually build out the project assets. You see Unity automatically kicks in and starts to load up. The project files are being built. The application is currently being loaded. Just takes a moment. Okay, and let's see. Let me close this for a second. We will get to the package manager shortly, but first a quick introduction to what we've got here. So the core windows that we've discussed in the lesson plan are let me just bring that up real quick so I'm going in order. We have the scene window. Okay, so here's the scene window. It lets us view, select, and edit all of the elements that make up our Unity scene. Right now, the things that I can see off the bat are a camera and a light. And you can see I can click those. I can move them around. I could change their rotation and all of that in this window through these options. Up next is the display hierarchy. So the display hierarchy and what we see in our scene view, these are related. All of our scene objects have a corresponding item in our display hierarchy. And when I click on the object in the scene view, you can see it highlights it in the hierarchy and vice versa. If I click on it in the hierarchy, it highlights it in the scene view. I can double click to focus any object in the hierarchy in the scene view by double clicking like this. Up next, we have the inspector. The inspector lets me view and edit the properties of the currently selected object or asset. So that includes things like turning things on and off via this active checkbox up here. You can see when I turn that off, it hides it in the scene view and it dims it in the display hierarchy. I'm also able to affect the position, rotation, scale, and other properties of this object from the inspector window, as well as properties on scripts that are attached to the objects. Up next, we've got the project window. The project window holds and shows all of the files in your workspace, in your Unity project. There are two different layouts. There's a one-column layout and a two-column layout. I prefer the one-column layout. I find it easier to find things in this way, but whichever one looks better to you, if you find that one of these is easier, go ahead and change it around. You can play with all of the way that these things look. Everything is very easily moved, docked into different locations so that you can really customize the workspace in a way that works well for you. I have found that this particular setup with my scene view top left, hierarchy to the right of that, inspector on the far right, and then the project, the asset files down here, and the console in the lower left. I found that this is a pretty good layout for working within a single screen and oftentimes a smaller screen if you're working on your laptop. And let's see. Oh, and lastly, we have the console. The console is a window that shows messages that we request to be printed from our scripts. And it's really useful for debugging the scripts that we're going to be writing. So let's see. What we're going to do next is we're going to bring in the ink asset. And there's two different ways you can do that. You can either add that at first to your assets via the Unity Asset Store. You can find the Asset Store through this window, Asset Store, and then click this to open the Asset Store URL. That'll open up a web page that looks like this, where you can then search for it. But ideally, you can go through our the link for the specific ink asset will be included in the lesson plan, or you can add the package via GitHub. So if you are adding it through the asset store, after you've gone to the asset store, found the package, and added it to My Assets, when you go to the package manager, if you select here, My Assets, you will see that ink integration for Unity as an option that you can download and import. The other way that you can bring this in is to add a package from a Git URL. That Git URL is also provided in our lesson plan. One more time, from a Git URL. There it is. So I've now added that through this Git URL option, and I can, I guess that's actually been brought into, by doing it that way, it's automatically brought into my project. And we'll see, when I close this window, we'll see it in our project. Oh no, we're not seeing it here. Why aren't we seeing it? Oh, here it is. It's in our packages. Okay. Brought it into a slightly different way. It now puts it into the packages instead of the assets folder. Whereas if we bring it in through the asset store, it will come into our assets folder. Either way, it can be in either location. Everything will work the same, doesn't matter, whichever organization you prefer. Inside of here, we see we have a demos folder with a basic demo. We're going to double click this scene. Oh, here we are. This imports the package. Okay. This is the step that I thought was going to happen earlier automatically, but didn't. So now I import. And there you have it. In our assets folder, we now have the ink folder with the demos, basic demo. I can go ahead and double click that to load it. We're not going to save the changes we made to our sample scene. And here now we have our new scene view. Again, I can see we have a scene controller object and an event system in the scene. When I click those, they highlight here. The scene controller, if I click this down arrow to expand, it has a main camera, there it is, and a canvas, there it is. I can spin this around so we're actually looking at the front side of this canvas. So now, just bringing in the basic demo, we can look at some of the different components. We can see there is a custom script called Basic Ink Example, and notice this is a script that's been added to this object. This is a file that has some code that was written by the people who created the ink asset, which we will explore later on. But for right now, we should be able to just go ahead and click this play button up top to play the demo scene. And so I'm going to go ahead and click that. The project will compile and then start. You can see my scene view has updated now that I am running the project. The code has, the code that is in the Basic Ink example has done some work to change parts of the scene. And if I click over onto the game tab up top here, the game window, this is the actual game view. This is what the player would see when they were playing the game, even outside of Unity. And so here I have, this is the default story that comes with the ink example is this story about you and Monsieur Fogg. And you can go ahead and click an option. It'll progress you through a story that has the structure of an ink story with the, the content and the different choices. You can follow it through to the end, and here we have the end of the story, and we can restart. Now, in order to bring the ink stories that we made ourselves last week into this project, we can go ahead and we need to find those. Let's see. Give me a moment while I find my ink story. Ink writer. Okay, so I'm going to use this whack-a-mole story that was an example from our lesson. I can go into my ink Unity project, into the assets, and I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder here called my ink assets, and I'm going to paste that story into here. Now when we go back to our Unity project, we'll see we have that new folder here, my ink assets. Here is our whack-a-mole ink and JSON files. And what we will do is we're going to select the scene controller, and we're going to replace the ink JSON asset. The default story is going to get replaced with our story that we wrote, which is for me, it's my whack-a-mole story. And you can see that's the whack-a-mole.json asset. And that gets generated from our whack-a-mole ink file, which you can see this should look pretty familiar to you. This is, this will have the ink story that you wrote. And so now that we've updated this to be referencing our story, I'm going to go ahead and click play. And I think I'm going to have a bit of an error here, right? Oh, so end of story, restart. Something is going wrong here. And if we look at my whack-a-mole story, you can see I have a knot, and it has, some content and some choice. It has an end, but I'm never entering the knot. We forgot to enter the knot. And so if I double click my ink story, that'll open up the ink editor. I'm going to go ahead and tell the program to go to whack-a-mole. So enter that knot. I'm going to hit save, and then I can quit Inky. I'm going to stop running. To make sure that any changes you make get recompiled and included, you need to restart the game each time you make a change like this. So I clicked the pause button again to end it. Or the play button rather. I'm going to click the play button again to restart. You can see there in my ink story this was updated. I'm going to hit the play button again, and now indeed we get the beginning of our whack-a-mole story. I can go ahead and choose my different options. Oh wow, I'm really good right off the bat, first try. Not so bad. Let's see again. Hit top left. Oh wow, every time? Oh, not this time. Got him the third time. All right, so now you should be seeing your own story. You should be able to play through it here, and any changes that you want to make to that story, you can double click that ink file. You can make changes here in the editor, and then they will be available for you to play in the Unity engine.